when entering and leaving the room. Okay, I call Owen Thompson to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Gabe. I hope you're all sitting comfortably because the next 15 minutes or so has something for everyone. Romans, the Enlightenment, social justice, you name it. That's what Mavisbank House is, something for everyone. Or at least it could be, with the right proposals and the right funding. Mavisbank House, near Loanhead, in my constituency of Midlothian, is a Category A listed building, proudly perched in a landscape of registered ancient woodland and high biodiversity. It's considered the most important example of early 18th century Scottish architecture. Words can only do it so much justice. To really appreciate it in all its splendour, you would have to see it in person a century ago. That's because this architectural marvel now stands as a gutted, neglected, dilapidated shell. It's literally crumbling by the day. I hope at the end of today's debate the Minister will agree that this can and should be reversed, and I do look forward to setting out for the Save Mavisbank House project's ambitious proposals to turn this ruin into a real asset for the community, and I'm sure the Minister would be very welcome any time to come and see the condition as it currently is. The Landmark Trust has said that Mavisbank House is arguably the most important case of a building at risk in the UK. It's a bold claim, but it's absolutely true. But to understand why Mavisbank is more important than hundreds of similar palatial villas in Scotland and Britain, we'd need to start with its history. Mavisbank House was first planned in 1698 and the foundations were laid in 1723 under the supervision of Scotland's preeminent architect, William Adam. Adam has been credited with being the first to bring the Paladin and Baroque architecture to Scotland and was prolific in transforming fusty old castles into grand country retreats. He totally revolutionised his field. And in many ways, Mavisbank House is where this revolution began. It was Scotland's first Paladin villa, a style that soon became ubiquitous amongst the landed classes. This brings to mind something that still rings true today. Where Midlothian leads, Scotland follows. Because of its pioneering style, Mavisbank House was also a bit of an experiment. It was a prototype for the Roman ideal of cultured retreat and classical design that set the pattern for Scottish and British architecture for the next century. It was a bold experiment, and it succeeded. It totally changed the way the landed classes lived and created a new kind of country economy. Its style embodied the Enlightenment ideals of improvement and logic, making it one of the world's first physical embodiments of this intellectual revolution. As for who this groundbreaking architectural experiment was being made for, Sir John Clarke of Pennycook was Mavisbank's first resident. He might not be one of the towering names of Scottish history, but he certainly moved amongst many of the big names and played a part in so many of the key events of his lifetime. Through him, Mavisbank was placed right at the centre of Scotland and Midlothian's story. Take, for instance, Sir John's contribution to the Scottish Enlightenment. Sir John served as Vice President of the Philosophical Society of Edinburgh at a time when philosophical foundations of a new world of reason were being laid in the closes and wines of Edinburgh's Old Town. In the midst of this distinctly Scottish movement, that, in the words of historian Arthur Herman, invented the modern world, Sir John penned essays on everything from the effect of lighting on trees to the size of deer horns, while also remaining true to his Scottish roots by penning humorous songs in the Scots language, his own mother tongue. His love of writing extended to his friendships, and on numerous occasions, Mavisbank hosted the great Enlightenment poet Alan Ramsay, whose Scots poetry influenced giants such as Robert Ferguson and Robert Burns, and whose son of the same name became renowned portrait artist for everyone from George III to Bonnie Prince Charlie. It's into this world of enlightenment and Scottish cultural renaissance that Mavisbank was born. And I hope that it can soon too be reborn into a new but similar context. I look forward to the day where intellectual havering and bonny music can be heard in Mavisbank again. But aside from his philosophical and musical leanings, Sir John was also a member of not just one, but two national parliaments. Firstly, the pre-Union Scottish Parliament, and latter a member of this place. I couldn't possibly comment on which of the two Christmas parties he might have preferred, But when he did vote for the Union in 1706, who's to say if it was a case of being bought and sold for England's gold? Surely not. Whatever the case, though, this is just another example of Mavisbank's deep connection with some of the most significant moments in Scottish history and underlines its status as a building of utmost historical importance. It sat at the heart of conflicts over intellectualism, Scottish independence, and the blossoming of distinctly Scottish arts and culture, and a renaissance in the Scots language, all issues as relevant today as they were back then. But perhaps the most salient aspect of Mavisbank's history touches on one of the darker and most shameful practices carried out by our predecessors, the trading of human beings as slaves. If the minister happens to be a connoisseur of Caribbean coffee, he'll no doubt be aware of Blue Mountain Coffee, a Jamaican coffee company whose main plantation is a place, yeah, you've guessed it, it's called Mavisbank. Mavisbank, Jamaica, was named after Midlothian's Mavisbank as a result of the owner's Scottish roots. It was recorded as a coffee plantation as early as 1808, and in the 1820s there are records of the estate selling slaves, the labour on whose those fortunes were made. Mavisbank, Jamaica, was home to the atrocity of treating human beings as property for the profit of wealthy Scots, all under the name of a Couthie Manor House back in the old country, back in Midlothian. It's not an image of ourselves that many of us want to confront, but confront it we must, because it's the truth. And by exploring the history of Mavisbank House, we're forced to come face to face with these injustices of the past. We're forced to recognise the horrors of Scotland's role in the slave trade and learn the lessons needed to build a more just future. I consider it a great honour to have as one of my constituents Professor Sir Geoffrey Palmer, who not only discovered the game-changing barley abrasion process in brewing, but has been a prominent campaigner for social justice and human rights for many, many years. Growing up in Jamaica and becoming Scotland's first black professor in 1989, Sir Geoff has used his wealth of life experience and incredible strength of character to campaign against racism and the legacy of slavery for many years, most recently in the midst of the Black Lives Matter movement. Last year he was a prominent voice calling for the Melville Monument in Edinburgh to be reinterpreted through new signage to reflect Dundas's support for gradual abolition, a process by which delayed the abolition of slave trade by some 15 years. Where in the past Midlothian was instrumental in the racist horrors of the slave trade, it's Midlothian residents like Sir Geoff that give me hope that we can also contribute to dismantling the racism of today. So in light of Mavisbank House's hugely significant architecture, the Enlightenment, art and the pursuit of social justice, it's an absolute scunner to see it in the state that it's in today. The building of national and European significance is currently in a state of extreme dilapidation. In the 50s, the forecourt was used as a scrapyard, and in 1973, it was totally gutted by fire. It's never recovered since, and now sits as an empty shell, slowly crumbling. Things got so bad that it was actually scheduled for demolition in 1987, and it was only a public outcry that saved it at the time in a High Court interdict. Decades of neglectful ownership has left us at a point now where we don't know even who owns it. But it doesn't have to be that way. There's nothing inevitable about falling into disrepair. Plenty of buildings in similar states have been given a new lease of life. And in the case of Mavisbank, the Save Mavisbank project has set out a new vision for how this incredible piece of history could be brought back into the present to benefit Midlothian. The Save Mavisbank project is led by Historic Environment Scotland and supported by the Landmark Trust. It seeks to unlock Mavisbank's huge potential for environmental, health, economic and cultural benefit, aiming to give this amazing asset back to the community. It doesn't just want to recreate the house as it was in yesteryear, but bring it to life again with a real value for the surrounding communities. In the words of the Save Mavisbank, they aim to return glass to its windows, urns to its rooftops, heat and light to its rooms, laughter to its terraces, living and learning to its stairwells and courtyards. Their vision is for the remains of Mavisbank House to be compulsorily purchased and reunited with its surrounding landscape in the care of Historic Environment Scotland. The whole estate will become a natural and historical landscape where people can come to enjoy its beauty, learn its history, and take home some of its knowledge. This pioneering plan includes a skills centre, a community wing, visitor accommodation, community green space, walkways, and a participatory rewilding project. If, like I may, I'd like to take some time to consider some of the key aspects of the proposal and the benefits that they could bring to Midlothian and Scotland as a whole. Now, Mr McCabe, I'm deeply grateful to Rona Brankin, the chair of the Mavisbank Trust, for her depth and knowledge about the site and passion for the proposals, as well as everyone else involved, including those who've shown me around the site on the times that I have visited. Restoring Mavisbank is so much more than preserving a piece of heritage. It's a chance to tangibly improve the lives of people in a former mining area that needs investment. The processes of restoring it, maintaining it, and then hosting programs in it to create skills and training opportunities, it's a massive investment opportunity. Creating skills and jobs is a core component of the project, whether in landscape management, horticulture, stonemasonry, or heritage science. On top of this, Historic Environment Scotland Engine Shed Skills Centre can provide crucial link to the wider training activities across the country. Then we can have the fantastic tourist value of the site. Midlothian is blessed by the world-renowned sites like Roslin Chapel, Pennycook House, Dalkeith Country Park, just to name a few. But the addition of Mavisbank House would create what Mavisbank have called a string of pearls around the Esk Valley, cementing Midlothian as a visitor destination right on the doorstep of Scotland's capital. An invigorated tourist economy and all the accommodation and catering businesses that would bring in much needed post-pandemic. There are even proposals for on-site accommodation at Mavisbank itself. This would also be a chance to pioneer how the heritage sector approaches challenges like this in the future. Mavisbank is undoubtedly one of the most ambitious heritage restoration projects ever planned in Scotland. So just think of the lessons that could be learned if we took it on. The health and wellbeing benefits of this project are numerous too. NHS Lothian's support for the project points to the fact that the proposals include green healthy prescribing, using exposure to nature to tackle mental and physical health problems. Save Mavisbank's community surveying found that one of Mavisbank's most valued qualities by visitors is a sense of tranquility in the green space. So why not harness that for health benefits? It's an approach that only started gathering steam in recent years, and with NHS Lothian on board, Mavisbank could be at the centre of this movement, just as it has been with so many movements in the past. Gardening is also a big part of this. With ample grounds, there's even potential for allotments, something in very high demand in Midlothian. That isn't even to mention the potential for digital reconstruction projects, live theatre and art spaces. We're talking about a vast and varied space. So it's almost a case of name something the community needs and Mavisbank has the potential for it. And I'm sure if the Minister needs no telling just how rare that kind of opportunity actually is. Incredibly, there might even be the remains of a Roman fort in the house's grounds, a rare thing unconquered in Caledonia. The Romans might not have made it very far in Scotland, but they did make it to Midlothian, and I'm sure they found it very well worth the journey from Rome, just as our EU friends nowadays do find their way there. Imagine how this potential site could benefit local schools and nearby universities studying archaeology, yet another string in the bow. Importantly, the collaboration and community engagement run deep in the Save Mavisbank proposal. Save Mavisbank is the product of a collaboration between Landmark Trust and Historic Environment Scotland. This comes after 4 years of close working through a joint project board, meeting monthly in Scotland and England to draw up this scheme. On a local level, Midlothian Council has confirmed its support and its willingness to take forward the compulsory purchase of the house, and the people of Midlothian themselves have had a voice throughout, as a community representative has sat on the board since its inception. Consultation with community stakeholders have been key. Beyond this, both NHS Lothian and Nature Scot formally support the proposals. NHS Lothian would be brought on board for the social prescribing programmes planned at the house's grounds, and Nature Scot would be a key partner in the environmental programmes. There's huge local enthusiasm for saving Mavisbank, demonstrated by the project's audience research. Current efforts are indebted to the community-led Mavisbank Trust, whose efforts in the past to rescue the building were by community and for the community. But all of this is completely contingent on funding from the National Lottery Heritage Fund. Put plainly, the Save Mavisbank If the National Lottery Heritage Fund cannot support the project, it won't proceed. Following an initial failed bid in 2013, Save Mavisbank was advised to reapply, which makes it particularly disappointing that the latest proposals was then rejected again just in July this year. Some potential challenges that are thought to have impacted on the application include issues with parking and general access, but these are easily surmountable, and Save Mavisbank have considered multiple different entrances spread throughout the grounds and the improvement paths and signage of the proposal, and more steps could be taken to move this forward. In 2021 bid, the project's partners had committed to finding 10 million on top of the 8 million that was being sought from the lottery. So funding for the project is there, it's just the lottery that's the missing element in it. And in spite of the bitter disappointment, everyone previously on board remains committed to the project. It's coming together. So many different bodies with a shared motivation and passion. It's really quite something to behold, and there's a lot of momentum there and energy, and we can't allow that to fade into nothing. This brings me to the reason for the debate today, to bring this to the Minister's attention. Obviously, I recognise that there is a big hurdle here. It's a question of funding, specifically from the lottery, but there are some key ways that I think the government could help to do its bit to save Mavisbank. So I've asked the Minister if he would meet with me and representatives from Mavisbank to discuss how we can take this forward. I think that would be the best way we could get into the detail of these issues. To draw my contribution to a close, Mr McCabe, us Scots pride ourselves in our history and our ability to keep it alive and vivid in our own culture. But the track record in giving due respect to architectural heritage has been a bit shocking in the past. Ancient tenements demolished for car parks, castles allowed to crumble into the sea. Mavisbank can't be allowed to just join the list of other important buildings that used to exist. Let's not repeat yesterday's mistakes and allow a piece of history to disappear, then mourn its loss after it's too late. Let's act while we still can, and if I could take some words directly from the building itself, words carved into the stone and translated from the Latin. And what numerous ages erode be restored intact, and may it be granted that the older you are, the more beautiful you may shine.
Thank you. The question is that this House has considered the restoration of Mavisbank House. Call Minister Nigel Huddleston to respond.
Well, thank you, Mr McCabe, and it's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship. And I would like to thank the Honourable Member for Midlothian for securing this Westminster Hall debate on the important topic of Mavisbank House. And as he said, indeed there was something for everybody in that speech, really highlighting a good spattering of very famous names from our history, and also acknowledging, quite rightly, that not all our history is glamorous or indeed uncontroversial. We have some challenging facts in our history that we also need to face head-on, as he quite rightly articulated. But as the Honourable Member has clearly laid out, Mavisbank House is absolutely testament to a unique aspect of Scottish and indeed British history, and it's one of the most important at-risk heritage sites in the country. The government shares the concern of the Honourable Member that this unique piece of Scottish and British history has fallen into such disrepair. Its importance as Scotland's most preeminent small country house and first Palladian villa have been rightly mentioned already by the Honourable Member. The villa was built, as he said, by two towering figures of the Scottish Enlightenment, Sir John Clarke and William Adams. And Sir John Clarke was a poet, a politician, musician, classicist, mathematician and philosopher. Puts us all to shame, Mr Chairman. And of course he played a vital role, as the Honourable Member mentioned, in the Act of Union. Now, this house that Sir John built at Mavisbank was a testament to the man and the time he lived in. Mavisbank would go on to be an iconic landmark, not just in Scotland, but across the United Kingdom. And I have not yet had the opportunity to visit Mavisbank, but I appreciate the offer the Honourable Gentleman made and would like to take him up on it at some point. But I have seen pictures of the site, which are quite alarming, and I share the Honourable Member's concern at the potential loss of this important historic monument. And I also share the Honourable Member's sentiment that this is a vitally important heritage asset for the local community as well. Mavisbank House is a fine example of the power of heritage and culture to create a sense of place. Heritage sites like Mavisbank House are also vital for the local economy, attracting visitors and providing high-skilled jobs. And I was very pleased to hear the Honourable Member mention the importance of these important skilled jobs in the heritage sector. The Honourable Member mentioned his understandable disappointment and frustration around the National Lottery Heritage Fund and its decision to not fund the scheme through the Heritage Horizon Award. The National Lottery Heritage Fund is an arm's-length body of the government, as I'm sure the Honourable Member will know. It's for them, rather than me or government, to decide or dictate which of the many worthy bids do receive funding. But since their formation in 1994, they have awarded over £3 billion to almost 10,000 areas, historic buildings and monument projects across the UK. And in Scotland alone, the National Lottery Heritage Fund has distributed over £890 million since 1994 to 4,727 projects. In the Honourable Member's constituency of Midlothian, the National Lottery Heritage Fund have invested £17 million in that time, of which over £12 million has funded built heritage projects, such as the Pennycook Heritage Regeneration Project and many more important historic places and assets across Midlothian. The Honourable gentleman mentioned Pennycook himself in his speech, so we see the importance of that name, that person, in his local area. And since the onset of the pandemic, of course, the National Lottery Heritage Fund has worked tirelessly to support the heritage sector through several alternative funds. But I do share the Honourable Member's disappointment that Mavisbank House was not able to secure Heritage Horizon funding. But I have been assured that all due processes were followed, and I don't think the Honourable Member was questioning the process. Of course, the harsh reality was that the Heritage Horizon Award was a highly competitive fund designed to, and I quote, revolutionise the UK's heritage through investment in ambitious, innovative and transformational projects, end quote. Now, I'm told that, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on perspective, other schemes match these objectives even more clearly than Mavisbank, leading to the difficult decision to reject their bid for funding, though clearly Mavisbank also fit that criteria, but with limited funding, it can only go so far. But an example of a successful bid in Scotland was the Cairngorm National Park Authority, which was awarded £12.5 million, and this award will fund an ambitious 7-year programme to achieve transformational change for people and nature in North East Scotland. It will bring together 45 different partner organisations to look at cultural heritage, environmental protection, climate change, biodiversity, and deliver meaningful improvements to people's health and well-being. That's a great example of the project. That does not distract from the compelling arguments made by the Honourable Gentleman about Mavisbank covering many of those areas as well, though. But I do understand that the National Lottery Heritage Fund has been in contact with the Honourable Member, as well as Historic Environment Scotland and the Landmark Trust, who I'd also like to acknowledge play a pivotal role in securing our national heritage as well. And I understand that the Heritage Fund have provided feedback and looking at alternative options for Mavisbank House. Now, I'd urge the Honourable Member to explore all available options, and he's clearly doing that, to save Mavisbank House, including the National Heritage Memorial Fund, a funder of last resort for assets of national importance across the UK. And as one of the most important at-risk heritage sites in Scotland, as I said at the beginning of my speech, I am sure that Mavisbank House would have a strong case, albeit, of course, any decisions are at the discretion of the National Heritage Memorial Fund Board. But I'm sure, given the case articulated today and that I've heard, I'm confident he would get a strong hearing and a sympathetic hearing. As honourable members will be aware, heritage is a devolved matter for the Scottish Government, but I would also therefore urge the honourable member to also continue conversations with the Scottish Government and Historic Environment Scotland. But I would, in conclusion, Mr. Chairman, I would like to thank the honourable member for bringing the House to our attention and this fascinating piece of history, which is articulated so well in his speech. I would, of course, be happy to continue the conversations with the honourable gentleman, with the Scottish Government and any other stakeholders. And I have to say, it does sound like the honourable gentleman is already engaging with a very, very large number of stakeholders. And Mavisbank House is fortunate to have him bringing so many people together and supporting this bid with such passion. but I would be happy to help in any way I can. Caveated in terms of I can't make promises, I can't promise funding that isn't directly under my decision making, but I would be more than happy to do whatever I can to help on this really important project. I wish him and everyone involved the best of luck in securing funding for this unique heritage site. Thank you.
The question is that this House has considered the restoration of Mavisbank House. As many as are of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
The contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order.
The proceeding has ended. 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 The proceeding has ended.